Hey friends, welcome to another edition of Minimal Monday number 72 this week. Again, you guys rock. You guys rocked my socks off this week. Again, excuse me, amazing work that you guys posted. And it's always tough to make a selection, but here is my selection for this week's Minimal Monday wrap-up. My Fav of the Day award goes to Johan Pannenberg. Yay! Anyways, Johan, this is a fabulous image. I first noticed this on Facebook last week, over the weekend or something, and I immediately liked it. This is such a strong image from the. Even if you look at it as a thumbnail or in the the crappy resolution of Facebook, or in the superior version on Google Plus, this keeps getting better and better. There's so much detail in this photograph. Go and look at it on Johan's stream, where you can see it probably a little bit more high res than in the video, but it's just a wonderful grouping of snow-covered trees, very, featureless snow, just like a nice white canvas with, if I have to guess, 20 trees. Soft lighting, yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful work, Johan. What about this one, by Benjiv Randava? He photographed this long exposure seascape, and he was telling in his post that it's been a while since he was able to do decent long exposures where he lives, and he finally managed to capture this beauty. Again, very simple, clean, rule of thirds almost, beautiful shadow detail. Yeah, I can hear and smell the ocean or the sea or the water. Beautiful, beautiful work. Good gradients. This is classic long exposure work. Good job, Benjiv. Now ICM, intended camera movement, or whatever you want to call it, abstract seascape photography. I'm kind of still on the fence about it, but this has to be one of the best, images in that category I've seen in a long time. I'm not too sure if this is actually real or not, or if this is a Photoshop motion blur. But nonetheless, the combination of colors. This is by Joshua Turcotte. The combination of warm and cold colors really works. And again, like I said, it's one of the better photographs I've seen in this genre for quite a bit. So I had to include this one. Good job, Joshua, and thank you for submitting. I think this is your first work that you submitted to Minimal Monday. Thank you. Now I cannot let Martin Rack win every week. Martin is a fantastic photographer. Again, this subdued snowscape shows that fog and soft lighting and probably pre-dawn light conditions can do for your work. A nice little grouping of hoarfrost covered trees Martin found. Yeah, this is absolutely beautiful work. Good job. Nice processing too. Yeah, this is top notch. Thank you, Martin. Same with Michael Diblicek. I can't let you win every week. Not a chance. Nonetheless, this is very strong work. Your winter series is dude, this is going really well. You are finding a lot of beautiful, beautiful minimalistic photographs wherever you live. Again, power line beautifully starting from the corner. Um, it's it's again rule of thirds with the horizon, but the diagonal of this image really works. And then there's that added little detail in contrast where you have that tree next to the power line. It's kind of the man-made versus nature contrast. I kind of like that, or I starting to like that in photography. Um, yeah, good work, man. This is gorgeous. Now, I often talk about trying to tell a story with a photograph. This photograph by Guiton Behet definitely is a good example about that. Um, you you can argue like, dude, you're shooting landscapes, you're photographing landscapes. What is the storytelling aspect in that? Um, well, everything is you know relative, obviously. Like for me, this is definitely this resembles two parents, the two trees, um, and then that bush in the foreground um, is kind of their toddler almost, and then that little weed thing, whatever it is between the two, is like their little baby, the new addition to the family. And this resembles for me as family of four, just leading their lives. That is what this photograph reminds me of. And the way Guitar photographed this, you know, really good. The silhouettes are striking. I like the lighting in the background too. Good sky, good processing. Good job. Love it. Now, what about this seascape by Dragos Ioniano? Ionia. Anyways, I'm trying to pronounce your name correctly. I think you had it, and I screwed it up again. Ionianu. Yeah, I'm going with that. Um, good long exposure photograph, and I have a feeling I've seen this before somewhere. Um, but there was something more on the right. Like I don't know if this is a well-known beach. I don't know if this was a photo. The other photograph I'm referencing was by you, but I don't know. This is like the foreground detail and the diagonal composition. The beautiful white water and how it interacts with the foreground rocks is that's pretty neat. Love it. Um, and then the suggestion of a horizon line that is definitely there. Um, yeah, I think this would make a good medium sized print, like a 20 by 30, something like that. I wouldn't go a lot larger with that because often minimal work is, and please do chime in on that, guys. Minimal work can be so simple and actually so empty that you're basically making or printing off a photograph of a lot of empty space of nothing, right? Um, if it doesn't have any significance, I think it's good to stick with, you know, smaller prints. 20 by 30 is pretty large already, but still, I think that's gonna be pretty much, on the maximum you can print from a digital file right now, 35 mil. I mean, um, 20 by 30s are a nice size too. I mean, it's not too small, it's not too big. People can still hang it in their houses. And I'm completely sidetracking here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like this photograph. Beautiful work, Dragos. Thank you again for adding this. Continuing on the seascape theme here with this one by Michael Salmila. Um, nice tone to this. This is nicely, you know, in darkroom terms, nicely selenium toned, warm tone, um, very rich. Love the lighting. Again, it's almost a silhouette. It just has a little bit of detail. The only thing my suggestion is make sure your horizon is straight. So, Michael, um, because I think it's not. It's kind of leaning to the left. The left edge is a little lower than the right, I think, visually. And I think if you straighten that, um, I'm just trying to think here. I see your problem. Well, your horizon needs to be straight. Well, it doesn't need to be straight because that's another one of those myths in landscape photography. But it's either you're doing it completely crooked or it's bang on. Um, like 2 degrees of difference feels like a mistake. So I would suggest um, straighten out the horizon, and this is a beautiful photograph. I like the reflection in it too, and the triangle that it forms, um, well placed in the image. Yeah, this is good. And this one by Quincy Jefferson is an interesting composition because the tension in the image is not made by the foreground, but by those two islands on the horizon line. And those immediately grabbed my attention, and they still are. And I'm playing ping pong from one edge to the other, and I can care less about that foreground. I'm bouncing off those two islands, and it's pretty weird, pretty interesting. Um, and I'm kind of bouncing, like I said, bouncing off those two islands, and then I'm going down, and I see something, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. I want to go back to those islands, and my eyes keep doing a circle from one island to the other to the bottom, one island to the and once in a while that pop in the sky. But the thing is that doing you know making a composition like this um, does it it's not obvious, but this is a dynamic composition because of my eye movement. Um, I'm going all over the place, but my eye is not going out of the frame. There's so much tension that it's not obvious. There's no obvious vignette, um, but a good composition always finds that balance between um, a subject, an interesting subject, or a interesting composition, where you can keep your viewer entertained, so to speak. And I'm very well entertained by this photograph because, like I said, now I'm like looking in the right corner to that black rock and questioning myself, should that be there? But still, I'm going back to the islands, and once in a while I go in the sky, and the sky is nice, but those two islands, yeah, good job, man. This is a beautiful photograph. Maybe not at first, or not as um, minimal, but still good composition. Thanks, Quincy. And my last normal landscape, minimal, whatever photograph I want to share with you is this one by Sairam Sunderson. It's a film photograph, I should say. Beautiful green. Like the green in this, photograph really attracted me, and it just it puts the emphasis on the granular structure of the sand, and it kind of you know ramps it up. It's even more obvious that there's so many specks of sand in this photograph, and just the foreground branch with the shadow and just the movement of that line, the suggestion of that line, kind of the direction of the sand, the ripples, kind of it. I should draw you a little map here, but my eye goes from the bottom of the branch, goes up to the curve in the shadow, goes back in the branch, and then it follows the curve or the lines that the sand is making. And it's an interesting positive image. So what do you mean positive? All the lines that I'm seeing are going up and to the right. Now in our Western society, going right and up is a sign of positivism, good things. If graphs go up, it's good. If graphs go down, it's not good. So if you flip this image, the meaning of it will change. And it's weird, but you should try it. See what you come up with. And the good thing about this image is also the shape that the branch is making, or the shadow is making almost, is kind of mimicked in the horizon line too. It goes up and to the right, and it goes up, but the curve is, if the hill was on the other side, but the branch was also on the other side, then you would get a off balance composition. Now you get that diagonal from the bottom left through the branch, through the dune towards the right hand corner, and you get a nice diagonal flow, curves up, and this is well seen, well photographed, well composed, good stuff. Beautiful, Siram. Thank you for adding this. Okay, I have 4 exceptions for you. The next 3, that's what I meant, are amazing examples of creating something from nothing. Taking a look at this photograph by Adam Williams. This is 2 or 3 pieces of paper, period, placed in such a way that, again, diagonals, repeated shapes, and just the control of the highlights in this photograph is showing off that Adam knows what he was doing when he photographed this. Because, by the way, Adam uses film, and this is a film photograph, and in a studio setup. So if you do not know how to light meter properly, and use the zone system or another technique you might use to place the highlights in a specific area of your film curve, or whatever you want to call it, then essentially what you're going to do is photograph a film, 10, 12, 8 exposures, and bracket. I don't know if Adam did this, all the power to him, but if he did, right, I mean, there's nothing wrong with bracketing, but I have a suspicion that that was not the exercise that he was doing. Nonetheless, this is a gorgeous example of, again, great composition, the use of diagonals, the use of triangles, the use of repeated shapes, and highlight control. Big thumbs up, buddy. Here's another example what you can do with paper in a studio. environment. This one is by John Dussault from, I believe he's from Calgary, right, John? I think so. Um, Again, like, probably a product of a rainy day or something, where John was bored and tried to, decided that he was going to make something from nothing. And again, I mean, it's that inspiration that is, that's why I'm sharing this, is because photography is a lot closer than you might think. You don't have to go out to, like for instance, to the mountains here. You don't have to go out to be able to photograph stuff or something, or learn something, or get acquainted with your camera, or again, like seeing stuff, and a photographer that comes to mind um, is like if you guys Google Darwin Wiggett, he has a blog series right now. Darwin is a pretty well known landscape photographer where I am, where I live, in Canada, and he's probably one of the best known Canadian photographers, landscape photographers, and he has a pretty popular blog and a series that is ongoing, is photographing something from nothing. And this would be a great example, John. I would just forward this to him, and maybe you get mentioned on his blog. Beautiful work. And then I have this one by C.J. Cox. Again, it's like, see my dear, photographing, something from nothing. This is a feather. At first I was, I selected this photograph, from my iPhone on a small little screen, and honestly, I thought, seeing it in my email as a little thumbnail, I thought this was a dune, a sand dune, where the black and white pattern was, the dune ripples. But I just noticed, or not just, but when I downloaded the image, was that it was a feather. And again, beautifully lit, beautifully photographed, simple, shallow depth of field. It really emphasizes the quality of this feather, which is a dumb feather. You know what I mean? It is, working with the subjects that maybe at first are not, obvious to photograph. Like, I'm pretty sure I can photograph this film spool and come up with something cool. You know what I mean? Like, inspiration can be very close if you open up your eyes. Beautiful, C.J. Cox. CJ, that stands for what? I want to know. Anyways, thank you, because I think this is your first submission too. And I want to wrap up. Oh my God, you see what I did there? With this photograph by Dionys Raquel, I believe I would pronounce that. It's an architectural interior photograph. And again, like, this is also film photography, but like the grain is awesome. I like that grain. Like, it's not noise. I read, a blog post this week where a photographer was complaining about film photography and how it all was, how digital is so awesome these days, and it's all, anyways. But he was comparing noise to, like, high ISO noise to grain in high ASA films. And there's not a comparison. Like, he was trying to tell us, that grain was something that was ugly. But in reality, grain is random. Noise is ugly. Noise is something that is artificial. Noise is something that has a pattern. That's why it's so easy or easier to get rid of in noise canceling or noise, you know, reducing filters, because it has a pattern. Um, Grain is random. It's totally by chance. And grain can be emphasized by developing process, by temperature, and all of that. But in this photograph, and I'm again like going way off the path here, the grain, I would almost say, like emphasizes the mood of this interior photograph, which is, it looks like a very minimal, kind of almost museum-like setting. Great architecture, nice diagonal, repeated shapes again, and then you have your diagonals going right, and then those get blocked off by a diagonal going left. And then obviously the figure in there, which is, I would say, pretty close to centered. It could use a little dodging maybe in the face to get, a little bit more, more of the features out there. Because now it's just a little silhouette, or it's almost a silhouette. It's obviously it's a little underexposed, but a little bit of dodging, I think you can fix that. But yeah, this is a cool play of lines and shapes and blocks and tones and again, I mean, this is probably not easy to photograph because of the low light situation. The highlights are beautifully controlled, so Dionys definitely knew what he was doing. Beautiful work. Thank you for adding this. There we go. That was it for this week. I'm out of pictures, but all in all, you would agree that this was again a fabulous week, and every week I have a feeling it's getting, especially in the last 2 months, it's getting better and better and better and better. And you guys are really, really, nailing your work is becoming very good, and I'm very proud to host this little team. Just looking in my calendar again because I keep forgetting when there's not a Minimal Monday, which is May 6th through May 20th. No Minimal Monday. So I have seen reports that people are going to go, kind of crazy. 3 weeks without Minimal Monday wrap-ups and all that stuff. Use that energy. I would use that power to come up with something amazing. Make it so the 20th is no Minimum Monday, but the 27th of May is going to be, and this is like my prediction, it's going to be ridiculous. All right? It's going to be off the charts. It's going to be super, super amazing. And I will have a tough time selecting 10, 15 images then. I'm pretty sure about that. Anyways, this was the wrap up for this week. I will see you all next week. Thank you all so very much.